Welcome to the stories that the quiet places try to forget. Tonight, we journey to Northwood Lake, a place where the stillness is more unsettling than any storm. A sanctuary nestled deep within the Canadian Shield, surrounded by towering pines that seem to lean in, always listening. Northwood is famous for its granite cliffs, its pristine, deep waters, and a darkness that seeps into its very name. This isn't a story of bloodshed, but of absence, of people swallowed by an environment that holds its secrets tighter than any human accomplice. These are the untold, most disturbing stories of the Northwood Lake vanishings. Our first story begins in the summer of 1993 with the disappearance of Evelyn Thorne, a seasonal resident who arrived at her family's rustic cabin by the Narrows. Evelyn was a student, home for the break, known for her daily ritual, an early morning swim before the lake traffic started. One Tuesday, the coffee was brewed, her book was open on the porch swing, and her white cotton towel was draped neatly over the railing, but Evelyn was gone. The water was calm that morning, perfectly clear, and divers found nothing but endless, cold depth. The only tangible clue was the family's small aluminum rowboat, which was later found gently bobbing nearly a mile away, meticulously tied to a submerged anchor line. Evelyn couldn't swim that far, and the boat had never been used by her. Why would she take it out just to tie it up and then vanish? No footprints, no struggle, just the perfect, terrifying quiet of a morning routine, suddenly, permanently interrupted. It became known as the Summer of Whispers, because every breath of wind through the pines sounded like Evelyn's name being called unanswered. The second mystery plagues the town of Red Pine, just off the lake's western shore. For decades, locals have exchanged hushed warnings about the Fog Lady, an old woman who purportedly walks the shoreline only when the lake is completely obscured by a thick white fog, a meteorological anomaly that can descend and dissipate in minutes. In 2008, two teenage campers, Ben and Michael, decided to try and disprove the legend. They set up their tent on a small peninsula where the fog was notorious. Around 2 a.m., the air grew instantly cold and damp, and the visibility dropped to zero. They reported hearing a sound that wasn't a whisper, but a low rhythmic thud, 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 approaching from the water's edge. Ben, paralyzed, listened as Michael muttered, "I have to see." Michael unzipped the tent flap and was gone. The thudding stopped. Ben waited until morning, screaming Michael's name into the thinning vapor. When the sun broke through, the tent was empty, save for one detail. Carefully placed at the foot of Ben's sleeping bag was a single smooth obsidian stone, a kind not native to the area. Michael's fate remains unknown, but the stone is kept in the local police evidence room, an inexplicable artifact of the vanishing. Sarah Jenkins was the town librarian, a methodical woman who lived by routine. And in 1979, she began documenting the local disappearances in a meticulous leather-bound journal. She didn't seek out facts. She recorded patterns, atmospheric conditions, and the shared uneasy dreams of the victims' neighbors. Her entries grew increasingly focused on a sequence of lights that she claimed to see over the deepest part of the lake, describing them not as UFOs, but as a slow, deliberate procession moving beneath the surface. Her final entry, dated October 4th, simply read, "They don't take the troubled, the broken, or the lost. They take the fixed points, the ones whose absence creates the greatest ripple. Tonight the lights are close, and they are steady. My bookmark is set on page 384. Do not disturb the balance." Sarah didn't show up for work the next day. Her journal was found open, the ink on her last sentence perfectly dry, sitting on a table next to a packed suitcase. All her affairs were in order, yet she left her car, her keys, and her entire life behind. The disappearance of the librarian, the person compiling the story, sent a chill through the community that lingers to this day. In 1985, a young family, the Drakes, inherited a small, isolated cabin on an unnamed finger of the lake. The cabin was peculiar. Built without a proper foundation, it seemed to simply rest upon the earth. After only 3 weeks, neighbors noticed their lights never came on. An officer was dispatched to perform a wellness check. The scene inside was unnerving in its normality. Dinner was half-eaten on the table, still warm, suggesting they left mid-bite. Toys were scattered as if playtime had just stopped. The family dog, a nervous terrier named Chester, was found whimpering under a bed, perfectly healthy but utterly terrified, refusing to be coaxed out. The strangest detail was the sound, or rather, the lack of it. The officer shouted inside the empty cabin, then tested it with a clap. There was no echo. The cabin absorbed all sound. Every shout, every footstep, every frantic search was muted. When investigators tried to record audio inside the structure, the tapes came back silent, filled only with a low, oppressive hum. The family had not fled. They had been absorbed, and the cabin remains a place where sound goes to die. The year was 1951, and the Canadian Geological Survey was mapping the area, aiming to correct decades of inaccurate hand-drawn logging maps. George Ellison, the lead cartographer, was obsessed with the lake's unusual depth variations. His final, unfinished map, recovered months after his vanishing, showed an anomaly that defied all logic. In the center of the lake, where all previous charts marked a depth of 300 feet, George had carefully etched a section marked with a single, massive zero. He had scribbled frantic notes in the margins about a central, perfectly circular area where his sonar readings simply bottomed out at a depth he couldn't measure, as if the lake had a perfectly flat, impossible floor in one spot. He wrote, "It's not deep, it's empty." George vanished from his campsite, leaving behind his meticulous equipment and a perfectly circular depression in the soft earth where his tent had stood. The survey team abandoned the project. To this day, recreational boaters report that their depth sounders sometimes flash to an unreadable, impossible reading when they cross the lake's center point. The case of Marcus Hall is one of technology and terror. In 2011, Marcus worked remotely from his lakeside home, conducting business through weekly video conferences. During one call, his colleagues witnessed the entire event in real time. Marcus was talking, looking off camera, when his expression shifted to one of profound, cold dread. He muted his microphone, but his camera remained on. His colleagues watched as he stood up, his gaze locked on the window behind him, his hand reaching slowly, deliberately, for the phone on his desk. He dialed 911, and the dispatcher later confirmed the call came through, but all they heard was absolute silence, broken only by Marcus's ragged breathing. They listened for 4 minutes as Marcus walked toward the window, then simply walked out of view of the camera. The line disconnected. When police arrived, his desk chair was still spinning, and the window was locked from the inside. Nothing was disturbed, and the colleagues, now witnesses to a vanishing, described the look in Marcus's eyes as if he were being politely, yet firmly, asked to leave. In the winter of 1965, the snow was deep, and the nights were long. Peter and Anna Volkov ran the only gas station for 40 miles. Their house was a short walk behind the station, connected by a snowmobile trail. On a Tuesday night, a snowplow operator noticed the station lights were still blazing long after closing. He found the gas station completely empty, the cash register open, with the day's receipts neatly stacked on the counter. No sign of robbery or struggle. The only anomaly was a single, long, continuous track, clearly made by 2 snowshoes, leading directly from the back door of the gas station across the trail and into the untouched, dense woods. It was a track that showed Peter and Anna walking side by side, perfectly in sync, heading away from their home. The track continued for half a mile until it reached a small, treeless clearing where it simply stopped. No disturbance in the snow, no struggle, no return tracks. just an end point. Searchers found only a perfect, eerie circle of undisturbed snow where the tracks should have continued, as if they had stepped up, not out. The story of the abandoned playground in the defunct logging community of Port North is perhaps the most emotionally resonant. For years, only one thing remained functional: a single, red-painted metal swing set. Locals avoided it, claiming that on certain windless afternoons that one swing would move on its own. In 1999, a group of teenagers filming a dare spent the night near the site. They captured footage, murky and indistinct, showing the swing moving in a gentle, rhythmic arc, empty, but unmistakable. The next morning, one of the teens, Liam, the one holding the camera, was missing. His friends insisted they never saw him leave the tent. The police found his small digital camera near the swing set. The last footage on the tape wasn't the swing, but a shaky, close-up shot of the forest floor, and then a quick, silent pan up to the chain of the swing. The final seconds captured only the slow, rhythmic sound of metal creaking, getting progressively faster, then abruptly cutting out. Liam was never seen again, and the community burned the swing set to the ground shortly after, hoping to break the strange pattern. The old Mallory house stood on a jagged, isolated cliff overlooking a sheer drop to the water, known for being relentlessly battered by high winds. Mrs. Mallory, a reclusive widow, lived there until 2004. Neighbors called the police when they realized her porch light had been on for 4 days straight. The house was locked, and the key was found dangling inside the lock. Investigators had to break the door down. Inside, everything was as it should be, except for the attic. The attic window, usually sealed shut, was open, and the furious wind was tearing through the room. On the dust-covered floor, amidst the swirling leaves and grit, they found a delicate, perfect spiral pattern etched into the wood, radiating out from the open window. It was too precise to be a footprint or a disturbance. It looked deliberate, like a piece of quiet, focused artwork. Mrs. Mallory's favorite shawl was found neatly folded on the chair next to the window, and a single, long silver thread from the shawl was found stretched taut, leading out of the window and snapped clean by the gale. The question was not how she left, but what she was doing at that window and why she left the final perfect design behind. Our final, most disturbing story brings us to the present. The disappearance of Alex Chen in 2019 is marked by a single, terrifying concept: the loss of time. Alex was driving the long forested highway out of Northwood in the pre-dawn hours. He called his sister at 3:17 a.m. to say he was passing the lake's midpoint and would be home in an hour. When he finally arrived home, the clock read 5:48 a.m. Alex was pale, shaking, and had a small, neat cut on his wrist that had stopped bleeding. He had no memory of the 2.5 hours he was gone. His car showed no signs of an accident, but the GPS data was alarming. It recorded the car stopping, remaining stationary for exactly 88 minutes, and then resuming its journey at the exact spot it stopped. The engine had remained running, the doors were locked, and the radio was playing a track that had not yet finished. He was conscious, moving, driving, and yet the time was missing, replaced by a perfect, unaccounted-for blank space. When his sister later pressed him, he could only whisper one thing, a faint memory he couldn't explain. It was a color, not black, a color with no sound. Alex sold his house, moved out of the region, and has never been back, but he still wakes up every night at 3:17 a.m., haunted by the knowledge that he was taken, held, and then simply returned. With an hour and a half of his life gently, silently, erased. Northwood Lake endures, indifferent to the questions we scream into its dark waters. It is not the gore that chills us, but the meticulous nature of the silence, the perfect, unsettling cleanliness of the disappearances. The lost have not been consumed by violence. They have simply been selected, removed from the fixed points of their own lives, leaving behind only an open door, a single stone, a perfect, quiet void. It forces us to ask, what is Northwood Lake guarding? And what criteria does it use when it decides that a life, however quiet, has become too important to ignore? Sleep well, and try not to look too long at the dark places where the water meets the shore. The stillness is often a prelude,